Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Our guest is Jens Nielsen. Thanks for being on the show again, Jens.
It's great to talk to you, Whitney.
Would you say that if you weren't still employed, that you may be trying to do most of this yourself instead of building a team? Or you'd be tempted? I know I would be.
Yeah, no, it's that idea of, you come from being in control, being a good technician, and you're like, hey, I know what I'm doing, and that nobody can do as well as I can. And then you suddenly try to create a business and you try to do it yourself, everything. And it just doesn't work because you can't be in 100 places at once, and you're not necessarily very good at a bunch of things that you want to be good at. I think it's important when you start out, you need to learn as much as you can about all the aspects of your business, but over time, trying to leverage other people, what they're good at, that is going to be tremendous in growing and scaling your business.
So leveraging others' skills, right? And I find those tasks that are $10 an hour tasks, or as opposed to the $100 an hour task, which most of us have heard that before. Hiring those things out that are $10 an hour tasks so you can focus on the other things, right? But who was your first hire, and what did they do for you?
So really, I'm just small enough that I don't really have any full-time employees or anything like that. But I mean, the first thing I really realized, I've been a guy who was doing my own taxes, my own accounting, for my job and stuff like that. So I'm like, that's the first thing I did. I cannot figure out how to do my business taxes. So don't even try. So, I mean, the first thing was to hire, making sure that my accounting for my properties was done professionally. So I would just get a monthly update of status and income, expenses, my P&L and everything else. So that was the first thing. And then really hiring a CPA to do my taxes. I looked at it for 5 minutes, like, no way, I can't do this. So that was just the first realization.
So you first hired an accountant and then a CPA?
Yeah, essentially that was just the first things I did. And that's been tremendous. I don't have to worry about those things. They just get done and it's taken care of. Yeah.
So even though those aren't full-time employees, they're still taking tasks off your plate that they're really good at and probably much more efficient at. But now that you can go work on something else that you're more efficient at or more, that you want to spend your time on.
Absolutely. Yeah. That would just be, stuff that's not value add for within my skill set. So that's off my plate for somebody else to do that.
All right. So what was next? What are some other tasks that you finally discovered that, okay, I need to start hiring this out and building a team that can do these things?
Well, obviously, so the other path I've done, I've done some direct mail and other things to try to find, that seller for the smaller properties I've done. And initially, I would try to do a lot of that work myself, so over time, So I got some people to help me, just some people in the local community that wanted a little side work and stuff like that. I explained, how do you go and find the owners? How do you break down the LLCs and all that stuff? So after I understood it myself, I've had people help me create those lists and then also, sending out those letters, so I'm not the one sitting there stuffing envelopes and writing out envelopes and stuff like that. So I had, people help me with that. So that's been it's something I've scaled back on a little bit more because I'm leveraging I'm changed my investment approach a little bit, but that was another task that I tried to, kind of outsource that way.
Okay. And then I guess go into how you've grown that, what you're doing now, maybe, do you use virtual assistants or do you have somebody like locally that helps you, part-time and what do they do?
Yeah. So basically, I've actually just had somebody, locally help me just part-time doing some of these tasks. I know a lot of people use virtual assistants. I've not really gone down that path yet. It is probably something that I need to do, but I need to look into more. Then obviously, property management is, because I think a lot of investors, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to do, fix toilets and all that. So I very, immediately, I was like, no, I don't want to manage properties. I find professional help to do that. And, so that's another key thing, do what you're good at, do what, as you said, the $100 or $1,000 an hour work versus the $10 an hour work.
Yeah. So, so you said you're hiring out property management and things like that. And then what type of systems did you have to develop? I mean, obviously with even 82 units and working full time, I mean, you've got to have some people in place or some systems to be able to manage all that. And can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, obviously the property management, I use the same company for all my properties. So they have their systems, to create the monthly reports and the P&L and all that. So that's helpful in that regard. Personally, I use, I've experimented with various CRMs, and I'm actually quite, as a customer relationship management, so I can keep track on who I'm contacting and what I'm supposed to do. I've actually gone to a new one that I found interesting. It adds on to just Google Mail, Gmail, called Streak, and that's actually like a CRM built into Gmail, and it actually consolidates everything in there. So having some sort of system for that, I think that's just who are you reaching out to, when are you reaching out to them, and when is the last time you heard from them? That's key, and I think that's what I've found. That
I haven't heard of Streak, and that's the name of the CRM you're currently using?
Yeah, it's called Streak. I think if you Google that, you can find the company. I think the company is something else, and there's even another, I'm just looking at my screen over here. There's another one called Boomerang. That's another add-on to Gmail.
Mm-hmm.
They're just little things like, hey, you haven't heard from this person in 3 days, will prompt you to reach out again and stuff like that. So, because I think, the best CRM is the one you use.
I like that.
And all my email flow through Gmail, right? So that way I can manage it all from in there.
Yeah, I've done lots of research about numerous CRMs and different platforms, and I will give a shout out to one of our sponsors, IMS, who's giving 15% off to the listeners if you use the code in the show notes. And something like that is more towards the syndication business, where investors can log in and actually see their investments on their phone or on the computer and have their own account. So that they can watch those things. But something like, Contactually or but there's so many different types of, HubSpot and, Podio and all these that are, more, they're CRMs, but some of them are a lot more involved than others. And while those are, they're not like the syndication business specific, they are, they're more customer relationships, management, a little different, not just for investors. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But anyway, I appreciate you bringing up the Streak. I haven't heard of that one. And so what was it about Streak that made you, decide on them as opposed to, other platforms?
Oh, I had tried some other CRMs, as you mentioned, and it just, I guess it didn't really feel like they were integrating very well. They're very expensive, as even though it may not seem like a lot, but a lot of small expenses, a lot of monthly expense, it all adds up. So I was like, hey, let me try this one. Somebody else mentioned it too. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. You can do mail merge and you can do, manage a lot of stuff. And it's like, hey, it's pretty simple and integrated with the tools that I'm already using. So I felt like, and it was just a plug-in, so it's just right away it was working for me. Down the road I may change it to something else, but it's working for me at the moment. So.
Great. Yeah. So I like what you said too. It's just the one that you use, right? It's the best one. And it is, it's a constant, it's a daily thing that you're having to upkeep and, keep putting information in time and time again. And so it's always current. And if you don't do that, then none of them are going to work very well for you. Are there anything else, any other things like that or software that you found that is useful to you or helped you create these systems so you can stay organized while you're still working full time, but, managing this real estate business?
I mean, it may sound simple, but I love to use, any kind of like Google Sheets, or anything. I want to have everything available regardless where I'm at. Like, so I use Google Sheet and Google Docs a lot. I use, Dropbox, anything that's in the cloud that's easily accessible regardless of where you're at, are really just kind of what I'm. So that's what I don't have any specific, because again, I don't run my own property management, so I don't have an Appfolio system implemented or something like that. My property manager does that.
Yeah, I also use Google Sheets and Google Drive a lot. I love it, so I can just see it right on my phone. I can have an icon right on my home screen on my phone and just touch it, and I can see an Excel sheet right there that the whole team can see, and that's been very beneficial for us as well. So, I want to, talk about your money raising a little bit, how you've partnered with other teams or maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit. We talked about, you're raising $350,000 in 7 days but I want to, go back a little bit and just how you got into the business, of syndication and or maybe even from, that when you had the 82 units, was syndication something that you were even aware of?
I mean, I had, actually, thanks for asking that question because I started, when I started investing in my, my own money in smaller deals, I also, I took a shift with my retirement money, if you will. I had some IRAs, sitting in the stock market at, one of the big brokerage companies. And one of the big things I learned early on is the idea of self-directed IRAs. So I was like, I can actually invest in real estate, private placements, syndications through my my IRA. So I investigated that, and I think early on, 2.5, 3 years ago, I started moving a lot of money out of the stock market into various syndication deals, and I think I've done 12 deals now through my own IRAs, my wife's IRA, because I realized I just feel like it's a much better vehicle, in my opinion, than putting money in the stock market and hoping for it to go up. So I started down the passive route first to really learn how is this done, and so forth. So that was my, so I guess to step back, I have known about syndications for quite some time. I have not done any until this year.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us, how you then started to get into the syndication business.
I think in our last podcast, I talked a little bit about this kind of joint venture we did with some friends, and it actually surprised me how, I hate to use this, but it was actually not that difficult to get people involved in the investment, because they trusted me to know what I was doing. They looked at the deal and they looked at the team and said, hey, this makes sense. Let's go. So like, there's probably a lot of money out there that's looking for a place to, people and money looking to invest somewhere. So that gave me a boost of confidence to move forward, right? But I also realized that, I was not in a position with my full-time job to go out and go to all these big markets and invest, create the relationships with the brokers, look at all these big deals, and really, really be the key principal on a big deal at this point in time. So So I started networking with people that are actually doing that work themselves. So they are the ones finding the deals. Those are the ones that are underwriting it. And once they have everything on a contract, I then, look at that and make sure it makes sense. And then I said, if I feel comfortable with it, I said, hey, I would like to help you raise money for this deal. So that was kind of the path of the direction I took, because I felt like that was a natural progression for my business.
Our guest is Chad Hudson. Thanks for being on the show, Chad.
Thanks, Whitney, for having me. Appreciate it.
It's impressive that right out of college, you knew that you wanted to be in real estate. And I wish that I had known that early on. But I find a lot more people are getting started earlier now, but I hear it time and time again, someone that's starting in real estate in their 40s or 50s or, whatnot. And they say, oh, I wish I had known earlier, about starting in real estate. So, but what would you say as far as from your experience, you had single families, you've had the construction business, you started with that condo, and then now you're into syndication. Someone that's getting started right out of college again, or maybe they're 30, what would you advise them from your experience? What part of real estate should they get in?
Well, I think everyone, whether it's a single family, I don't really recommend that. I recommend going and buying a plex, a duplex, a quad, whatever it may be to start with. I think you just get out there and get your feet wet on that occasion as far as doing it yourself. You got to get skins on the wall, and that's the best way to go in and get your own unit. I got to tell this story real quick. When I was in college and, of course, playing ball, there was a lady named Margie Stabor from College Station, Texas. And she really piqued my interest. She would go around, and there was probably 40 units, several baseball players that lived in these units. And at the first of the month, she'd pick up rent checks. And I knew most of those units were hers. And she still was a realtor in town, but she had this passive income. And I said, wow, forget baseball. I mean, I know it's one day going to end. I like that gig and that. So as far as a kid, there's two things. Never hesitate to ask questions. And I immediately asked Miss DeBoer everything. And she probably got sick and tired of me, but she gave me, I tell my people that she gave me more knowledge than really I got out of school down there in a 4-year degree. But I would watch her and ask questions. So, to answer your original question, I would say go buy something, be smart about it. Get in there, live there, kind of similar to what I did with the house hacking. And then if you want to grow from there, or you want to sell it, or you think you can scale up, then, I wouldn't, me personally now, I wouldn't waste too much time in that on the single family. More so, I would really start looking at scaling up at an earlier age. I wouldn't trade how I did it, but if kids ask me today, or someone asked me that's even my age, I would say, it just depends on where you're at. You're risk averse, but I would go big.
No, I like that. And you also had a construction and renovation business. Was that something in addition to your rental properties, or did that benefit your rental business, or is that something that you would even recommend somebody with, say, a large portfolio having their own construction business?
Oh, absolutely. It's helped me. It helps me analyze properties. I know construction. I know how to talk to the general contractor, the subs. It's a team sport, and I feel like that's another equation that benefits me as far as for the future. I can go out and analyze a property ground up and look at the construction, see what's needed. But no, I still do that today. Savoy Builders is a company that I have, and I build houses still, and I've got a partner in that. It's a gentleman named Chris Pruitt, and he knows more about construction than I do. I listen to your shows, and the smart people hitch their wagon to smart people. And I've said it 100 times. If you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find new friends. And so it helps me in every aspect. That's what I meant by real estate can be a very broad definition. But my passion is building, and really whatever the market bears. I'll build houses if it's needed, but for personal gratitude, and then for obviously my family's sake, we invest in a long-term, wealth building that's slow growth. But the great saying ever, I think it was Roy Rogers, I believe. The saying of, don't buy real estate and wait, or don't wait and buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait. So
yeah.
That's kind of my motto. But I got to stay busy and make money to buy real estate. So that's the real estate development company that I have. I still do that, and it helps me every day, Whitney, as far as investing.
So as far as the syndications that you've completed and been involved in, what's been the hardest part of the syndication process for you so far?
Wow, that is a great question. Speaking of broad, there is so many smart people in there, whether it's from, the tech industry or really, when I would go look at deals, I would go touch them and feel them. I never really put much on a computer till at the end. And now it's a computer-based business. They analyze things down to pennies. And sometimes for me, it's analysis paralysis. It's crazy how much goes into that when, most of the time I'm just like, let's go do a deal. We can be smart about it. But, it's been fun. It's been fun learning. It's very similar to what I've been doing. It's just add another zero at the end.
So what kind of buying criteria do you have now as far as looking for, multifamily properties? What size properties are you looking for? And what are some things that are like, okay, this is, when you're talking to a broker, maybe this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Obviously I want to be a part of Class B value add, very similar probably to what you're looking for. I don't know if I can say this, but I want to be in a red state. I want to be very tenant based or very landlord friendly. It's a capitalism market, and I want to be able to have access to go in and really clean up a place and get the rents raised and turn the property around. I look at demographics like we all do, and it needs to be in a very positive demographic area that's growing, and for the foreseeable future is going to grow. So that's kind of my standards as far as you add, at the end of it, you start adding crime rate and get down to the nitty gritty. But I mean, just a positive growing place that's well represented from the town's aspect.
Is there a specific size of property? Is it strictly multifamily and certain size of property?
I think 200 up. I feel like from what I've learned, you can hire the same amount of people for 200 that you can for 100. And so, again, I'm learning every day, but I really like the 200 plus play.
And is there, you mentioned like landlord friendly states, is there specific maybe landlord unfriendly issues, that maybe that we should be aware of when we're purchasing a property that you've encountered?
Yeah, just look where everybody's moving away from. Stay away from that area. Sometimes we want to make a big deal out of it, but it's really black or white. It's so simplistic as far as that. I mean, I hate to throw states under the bus, but I mean, there's certain states that I just look at and go, it's like the Titanic. So why the heck? There might be deals there, but why would I go invest there? So there. I mean, where I'm going with that.
Yeah. If you're buying real estate on the Titanic, I mean, it doesn't matter how good it is, does it? So, in your experience, what's a big reason why people fail in the syndication business, or maybe you see ways that people are being too risky or something like that?
I think people have a hard time saying no. I think, that's one thing, I tell my wife, and we talk about all the time. At an early age, you got to say no to, and this goes back to extracurricular activities. We have friends going to Vegas, do this. We were just laser focused. We said no. We're pretty simplistic. I love my family. I love investing. We love our careers. So we would say no quite a bit. And we, obviously we live below our means. That's important. We grew organically within the company, but, and I get asked to do certain things, and it just doesn't make sense because it doesn't make sense for my time. And that's whether it's political or I don't even watch that stuff. I mean, I of course it matters when it comes to rates and what the rates are, but I just don't bog myself down with that stuff because me personally, I feel like it's a waste of time. So, as far as I feel like that's helped us to be focused and to live, below our means and stay within ourselves and just say no. I mean, that's not to say we don't have fun. We got great friends. It's just, Whitney, you can get asked to do and spread out so many different directions that it takes away from the overall goal. And for us, other than our faith and having a great family, it's passive income.
We hope that you have enjoyed the highlight show today. You can always listen to the full episodes that were featured today by clicking the links in the description box. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this episode, or you can go to lifebridgecapital.com/podcasts and click the feedback button. Let us know how we can add more value to you. Thank you, and talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.